Just as in reality many living things are based on an eat/be-eaten relationship, the same thing is happening in the Pokémon world. Especially since the Pokémon Sun and Moon versions, the Pokémon Guide's descriptions of the food chain have greatly increased, giving us a new glimpse of the drama of the Pokémon. In this time, we will introduce Pokémon that eat Pokémon. Please look at them as if you were learning about their ecosystems, how the Pokémon on the eating side attack, and how the Pokémon on the eaten side resist. Pokémon that are eaten in part of their body. First, we will introduce Pokémon in which only a part of the body is eaten. Although they are preyed upon, they regenerate, are not reduced by being eaten, and do not have any life-threatening effects. In a sense, you could say that they are helping each other. Let's take a look at them right away. 1. Maractus vs. Bird Pokémon. First is Maractus, with its cute appearance based on a cactus motif. Maractus sows seeds once a year, and the nutritional value of these seeds is extremely high. This makes it a valuable food source in the desert, and many bird Pokémon seem to be after it. Maractus itself, which sowed the seeds, is not harmed, but considering that a new Maractus was supposed to grow from the seeds, the damage it can cause is enormous. Of course, Maractus does not just stand idly by and watch. It can shake its body, make maracas-like sounds, and perform an up-tempo dance to scare off bird Pokémon that are after flower seeds. To be honest, it is hard to imagine Maractus chasing off ferocious bird Pokémon with such a dance, but I guess Maractus is still dancing today to ensure the survival of the species. 2. Corsola vs. Mareanie. Corsola is a Pokémon that uses coral reefs as its skin. In the real world, coral reefs are being devoured by starfish, which are their natural enemies, and the same is true in the Pokémon world. However, Mareanie, a Pokémon based on the starfish motif, is less brutal than in the real world. Its favorite food is the tips of regenerable head branches, so Corsola's own life is not harmed. It is, however, a worthy natural enemy of Corsola. When Corsola is chased by Mareanie, he cuts himself off from his own branch and escapes while Mareanie reacts to it. For this reason, many Corsola in the Alola region, where Mareanie live, seem to have short head branches. Here, the problem is discovered that Corsola are being attacked too much by Mareanie. Originally, Corsola head branches grow overnight and return to their original position in about 3 days. The fact that the branches do not return to their original position despite this short cycle indicates that they are attacked by Mareanie at least once every 3 days. It may be that Corsola in the Pokémon world is in danger of extinction, just like in the real world. Incidentally, Mareanie and Corsola also live in the Galar region, but these individuals do not seem to be involved in predation. However, Corsola in Galar, whose whole body has turned white and whose branches have turned translucent, does not look very tasty. 3. Starmie vs. Lumineon. Next, let me introduce Starmie and Lumineon. At first glance, Starmie seems to be the eater and Lumineon seems to be the prey, but in fact, the two are opposite. In the Pokémon food chain, Starmie's staple food is plankton, and Lumineon preys on Starmie. According to the Pokémon Guide, Lumineon crawls along the ocean floor and uses its fins to find its favorite food, Starmie. They sometimes compete with Lantern for valuable food, indicating that they have a hard time finding food. However, even if Starmie were to be found and preyed upon, it would probably not suffer any damage. This can be inferred from the characteristics of Stereo, the pre-evolutionary form of Starmie. The Pokémon Guide states that as long as Stereo has a red core in the center of its body, it will regenerate immediately even if its body is torn off. Although not mentioned in Starmie's Pokémon Guide, the regenerative feature would still be present after evolution. In this way, I feel that Lumineon is more worn out by having to deal with Lantern while looking for food. What are your thoughts on this? Somehow the predator side is harder, so I would like Starmie to hide in a place where he can be easily found. The next section presents Pokémon that are securely in a food chain relationship. The first predatory relationship was described in the Pokémon Guide in the red-green version of Pidgeotto. Grab an execute for food and carry it to the nest 100 kilometers away. Since then, the food chain of Pokémon has continued, and some of them even have inspiring stories to tell. Let's take a look now. 4. Bounsweet vs. Toucannon. The first Pokémon to be introduced is Bounsweet, which appeared in Sun and Moon. The characteristic of this Pokémon is that it evolves to gain the power to defend itself against natural enemies, a development similar to evolution in the natural world. The Pokémon Guide for Sun describes it as having a delicious aroma that overflows from its body and is swallowed whole by Toucannon, which is caught by the smell and comes to it, while the Pokémon Guide for Moon states that Bounsweet sweat becomes a moderately sweet juice when mixed with water, and Bounsweet appears almost exclusively as a food factor.
This is not the only legend of Bounsweet's food factor.
In the Ultra Moon version, Bounsweet was a Pokémon that was set up to be eaten to the hilt. When Bounsweet is about to be swallowed, it turns its head to resist, but it is usually ineffective.
Although Bounsweet is such a Pokémon, there is a route where it cannot be eaten. It is to survive and evolve into Steenie. Evolving into a Steenie gives it a much stronger defense.
Steenie continues to be targeted by bird Pokémon as well, but it can defend itself because its calyx becomes 2 leaves and becomes hard enough that it is not at all afraid of being pecked by bird Pokémon. And the shield version of the Pokémon Guide explains that a poking Corvisquire will be hit with the head's calyx, and then a sharp kicking technique will be delivered, which means that Steenie is beginning to fight back. We also hope for revenge on its natural enemy, Toucannon, but it is doubtful that Toucannon can withstand the heat of its 100-degree-plus beak. 5. Talonflame vs Small Bird Pokémon. Toucannon, which was introduced earlier, is a Pokémon that has actually overcome its position as a predator and turned into an eater.
Pikipek, the pre-evolved form of Toucannon, is a Pokémon on the side of being eaten, and Talonflame is its natural enemy.
Pikipek shows glimpses of being a Pokémon on the predator's side, such as its ability to poke a tree with 16 consecutive strikes in 1 second, but this is useless in front of Talonflame. Talonflame's blazing speed of over 500 km per hour, its powerful kicks, its sharp claws, plus the fire sparks that erupt from between its feathers, have probably turned many a Pikipek into a roasted chicken. The only Talonflame victims in the Pokémon Guide are Pikipek and Wingull, but they are surely the reigning top bird Pokémon. Even Pokémon that are eaters have often experienced being eaten in the past. It seems that the world of bird Pokémon is truly a world of the weak and the strong.
6. Centiskorch vs Scolipede. Centiskorch and Scolipede are an unusual predatory relationship in the Pokémon world.
Usually, predatory relationships are divided between the eater and the prey, with a clear hierarchical relationship.
However, Centiskorch and Scolipede fight each other for territory, with the loser becoming the prey, and the relationship is literally eat or be eaten.
The two species have many things in common, such as their centipede-like appearance, aggressive personalities, and over 2.5-meter large bodies, but let's take a look at their respective fighting styles.
Centiskorch. Type of fire and bug.
Body temperature during fever is about 800 degrees. They swoop down with their bodies like whips.
Sharp fangs. Scolipede. Bug and poison type.
Fast-moving, they hunt down their enemies and attack with the horns on their heads. They use their neck claws to inflict poison. It is a battle between Centiskorch, which wants to push forward with power and firepower, and Scolipede, which wants to seize the opponent and use his own tactics. Personally, I have the impression that Scolipede would have a hard time competing with Centiskorch's 800-degree body temperature.
What do you think?
Please let us know your predictions in the comments section.
7. Marowak vs Mandibuzz, a never-ending feud. Next we will look at Marowak and Mandibuzz, 2 generations of a never-ending feud. Let's focus on Marowak's pre-evolutionary form, Cubone, to see how the two compete. Cubone has a particularly pitiful characterization among all Pokémon.
The bone on its head belonged to its dead mother, and it can be said that it sometimes cries out at night for its mother.
Mandibuzz targets such Cubone. Mandibuzz circling in the sky, targeting weak Pokémon.
In addition, Mandibuzz needs bones to build its nest and protect the buttocks of its offspring, Vullaby, and Cubone is its favorite food, so it is a great target. It is likely that Cubone was helplessly captured by Mandibuzz, resulting in a large number of casualties.
It doesn't end with just getting beat up.
When Cubone overcomes the grief of his mother's death, he evolves into Marowak and begins to fight back against Mandibuzz. He shoots down Mandibuzz by throwing his bones at it like a boomerang.
This action is as if to avenge the loss of his deceased kin.
Mandibuzz attacks Cubone for the sake of their children, and Marowak shoots down Mandibuzz to avenge their clan's enemies.
We hope to continue to watch the conflict between the two families.
8. Weavile and Glalie, the kings of the ice world.
Last but not least, let me introduce you to the two Pokémon that rule the ice world. Weavile and Glalie. Each has a different fighting style and reigns as the king of the north. Weavile is unique in that it hunts in packs of about 5 animals. They work together, each leaving signs on rocks and trees, to hunt down their prey. They then attack with their sharp claws and all share the prey they have killed. Since the pre-evolutionary Sneasel sometimes compete with each other for the prey they have killed, the post-evolutionary Weavile has grown in mentality. In Alola, Vulpix and Sandshrew are the main prey, but they seem to be capable of easily killing big game such as Mamoswine through team play. Weavile, whose motif is often debated as to whether it is a cat or a weasel, seems to be able to work together like a lion when hunting, and to take down even larger opponents. Glalie, on the other hand, stands at the top of the northern world with her solitary style of hunting alone. The cold air from her mouth has the effect of instantly freezing her, which she then eats with a crunch. Glalie has a body that does not melt even when it is exposed to fire, which is supposed to be its weak point, and is truly an ogre of ice. However, its favorite food is Vanillite and other Pokémon that are originally frozen, so it is hard to shake off the feeling that it is overspecified. As these two reign supreme in the world of ice, the hierarchy of the food chain is to some extent set in the Pokémon world. In addition to those introduced here, bug-type Pokémon are eaten by various Pokémon, fish Pokémon are continually targeted both in the water and on land, and Wishiwashi is preyed upon by Whalemar at the rate of 1 ton a day, among others, leaving some in a vulnerable position. However, even such Pokémon on the side of being eaten show various glimpses of drama, such as becoming able to protect themselves after evolving, taking revenge on their natural enemies, or turning to the side of eating. It is fun to enjoy battles and stories, of course, but it is also interesting to focus on the backstory of the Pokémon world in this way. That's all for this issue of Pokémon Eating Pokémon. Thank you for watching to the end. If you have any information other than what we have covered in this video, please let us know in the comments section. We have a lot of discussions and explanations about Pokémon on our channel, so please subscribe to our channel if you are a Pokémon lover. See you in the next video.